This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Carl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
Hi guys, I'm Carl Gruber, author of the new book True Spirituality and the Law of Attraction, a beautiful symbiotic relationship. Are you tired of being caught in the web of negativity that our ego-driven world mandates as reality? Say one positive thing and all you hear is, get real, get your head out of the clouds and prepare for the worst. Well, I'm here to tell you that negativity is not reality, and that the opposite is true. This is why I have written and published this book. In my new book, I show you how you can walk hand in hand and in alignment with the law of attraction and eternal universal spiritual truths, which will allow you to make all the positive, loving, happy, abundant, and healthy things you desire your reality. Find out how you can become a consistent co-creator of your life with the universe and get out of that negative spiral of lack, attack, and judgment. Get your copy today of my new book, True Spirituality and the Law of Attraction, a beautiful symbiotic relationship by Carl Gruber. Now available as an ebook and paperback on Amazon. Hey, it's showtime. That's right, it's time for yet another awesome episode of World Awakenings, a fast track to enlightenment. I'm your host, Carl Gruber. Now, if you've been following this show for a while, thank you. And if you are new to the show, I know you'll enjoy it. And please subscribe to this channel so we can keep bringing you some of the world's greatest enlightened masters, teachers, and experts. So let's continue this journey together as we seek to open our hearts and minds to all that is and to gain an understanding of all things seen and unseen in the universe. Now let's meet our guest for today's show. Sanar Alixandyr is an empowerment coach who has lived many lives. She combines her years of knowledge as an educator, a professional musician, director, composer, and actress for over 30 years. Her spiritual awakening during her process of healing from PTSD that resulted from the extensive abuse she suffered earlier in life. This has resulted in her current passion of quantum field energetic transformation space. This transformation space provides a quantum leap in energetic healing. I'm excited to be able to hear about that. She is a certified expert in this field with 35 years of experience in the healing arts, and she is the author of a new book, Becoming Sanar, From Shadow to Light, A Journey of Self-Discovery. So with that, oh my gosh, welcome, Sanar.
Woohoo! Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
By the way, I love that name, Sanar.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't know if I've ever seen that name, but it's very cool. So makes it highly individualistic. So
That's true. That's true. And a friend of mine once said, "You don't get much spam, do you?" And I said, "No, I don't."
Sanar, you certainly led a full and interesting life up until now, to say the least. I mean, I really want to find out about your quantum leap energy healing that you now do, but could you please give us some background about the extensive abuse you endured when you were younger that resulted in PTSD? And I'm sure it's not easy to talk about, but it's kind of your focus of what you do now.
Yeah, how much fun is that? So, yes, and that is the focus of the story Becoming Sanar. So to answer your question or your perusing of my name was that I was not born Sanar. It was through this journey of recovering blocked childhood memories where I was gifted with that name as my spirit name. If we want to talk quantum leaping into the spiritual dimensions, it's actually was given to me as my name when I'm not in physical body. And so during my post-traumatic stress disorder era, I really always hated my name, I was born Linda, which means pretty, beautiful. Um, and Linda, to me, identified with all of the horrible things that happened to me as a child. Although I did not remember those things until I was 36 or so, was when PTSD started to emerge and diving into the story. So the story becoming Sanar is my journey through post-traumatic stress disorder, discovering what happened to me in childhood and how that had been running me for over 30 years and how I could and can and did completely heal from that situation and become my true self, which is named Sanar, and to share the healing energies and abilities that we all have inside of us somewhere um, as a part of this journey of transformation and ascension and all the metaphysical awakenings that are happening around the planet. So it's very exciting. So it was through the PTSD that I remembered what happened to me in my childhood experiences. The way that PTSD started to occur was that I was just always suicidal. I couldn't hold a job. I couldn't keep a relationship. Had eating I was homeless. I had eating disorders. I was just a mess. And I was raised by a viable family. My father was a chemical engineer. My mother was PTA president. We were educated. We lived in a nice house. But there was always something wrong, and I did not know what that was. And so in 1989 or so, I was a single mom to a beautiful child, just lost, completely lost. And so I just, one day after wanting to drive my car and my child off a cliff, I just thought, there's something wrong with me. Like there is something really wrong with me, and I just called out to quote the universe because I was not doing God at that time. And I said, show me what's wrong with me. And that was the impetus that drew situations to me. Speaking of the law of attraction, that was the impetus that sent me on a journey of singing in a luncheon where a lady approached me and said, I want you to come sing at my church. And I said, I don't do churches, but I needed the money. And she said, no, you'll really like this church. And it was a New Thought church. And lo and behold, that drew me into a community where I met a lovely lady that was adept in healing arts, and we became friends. And she started this energetic healing process on me and with me. And lo and behold, Pandora's box, the lid opened, and all of this stuff came out, which I just dove in and dove in and dove in until I found my light self and went, wow, I'm going to stop there for a moment to breathe, everybody. Yeah.
Wow. Um, that story about you with your child in the car, the little bit I had a chance to read of your book, that's in the beginning of it. You described that when you were in the car with your child and you're at a green light, a red light, and that type of thing. But let me ask this. PTSD, post traumatic stress dysfunction, it it took 35 years to kick in. Is that because when we undergo trauma and abuse, we just simply suppress it and then one day it just bubbles up?
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah, the memories that my physical and energetic systems gave up during this process of healing were very clear that I had this experience and I immediately blocked all memory. Like this never happened.
Mm.
One of the things that I did being a professional musician and actress and writer and all that stuff, I put the story into a musical drama because to me, life is a musical drama. It just is, there's all
Sure.
sorts sure, why not? And wrote all the music that the angels were singing to the little girl, saying, someday she would find out why all these things happened to her, et cetera, et cetera. But we discovered that that was just too traumatic for people to watch at that time. So it was another level of my healing journey of trying to share the story in a way, um, in an artistic healing, hopefully positive way, but people were more traumatized by the story than they were inspired. Some were inspired, but it was just very difficult all the way around. So I put that aside for a while until this current impetus to write a book and share it in a form where people could take the story home with them and read it at their safety level and spiritual level and get support that they need, and get whatever they need from the book.
Yeah, it seems to me, what I read at the very beginning of your book, there's this beautiful long poem or prose that you literally lay out your whole life within in just in this little beginning poem. It was beautiful,
Yes.
well written too.
Oh, thank you so much. I wish I could take credit for the poem, but I actually had a beautiful angel writer who was very proficient and very lovely. I said, I want people to fall in love with this little girl. This little girl didn't feel loved at all, ever, not for, decades and decades and decades. And this beautiful angel writer, took the story, took the traumas and just put them into a formula. I love the poem at the beginning. I wish I had written it, but I personally did not. But thank you, thank you. Yes, it's gorgeous. And I thank him every day for his blessedness. Yeah.
Well, speaking of angel writer, from what I see, you have a guardian angel named Ola. Is Ola still hanging out with you?
Oh, always.
Of course. That's what angels do, right?
Right. Well, and you can guardian angels don't have to be with you forever. You can get new teams who are there to support you when you need them. Yeah, Ola is around. I don't depend on her as much as I did. We're more um, mostly when I need a little boot in the butt, Ola's there to go, hey, go this way, do this. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. And she definitely connects with my trust heart, where you just got to follow. People say, follow your heart. It's like, well, what does that mean? When you're a mess, I was like, oh my goodness gracious. But Ola's just always been a very clear director, she guided the whole post-traumatic stress healing era. We checked in with her. She, I think before I met her, she was doing channeling. Her name was Goddess Dove Ola. She was doing physical and tangible groups and healing sessions before she came to me. So yeah, they're busy.
Yeah. No wonder my butt hurts so much. My guardian angels keep giving me a boot in the butt, saying, Carl, butt in gear.
Get your butt in gear. Yes, yes, yes. And when I do transformational healings, yeah, I call myself the foot on the butt of life. Like go, let's do this. You know.
Well, more I want to ask you. Evidently, you had a spiritual awakening experience during your healing period. I mean, was that a specific experience? Is that something you can share with us, or was that the situation at that red light when you were in the car? Was that the spiritual awakening?
No, because when I'm sitting at the red light, just despondent, I didn't hear anybody go, ta-da, you are now awakened. It was
Right.
like, nope, the light turned green and I took a right turn and there went on my way. But in hindsight, I could see that this was the moment when I called out for help. I know that when I do a lot of angel work, they're like, we can't help you until you ask, you have to ask. And I don't think we always know that. When I was taking some courses in holographic repatterning, which is a lot of fun as well, um, it was like used a lot of kinesiology, muscle checking, and it was
Mhm.
my experience was that, well, it's like, who am I asking, And what I discovered because of my childhood trauma, I had split into different animals, different creatures to handle the trauma. So I had a whole party of people inside my head who all had opinions as to what we were going to do next. And what I now know is that Sanar was the leading spirit, the driving force in my healing journey.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, we've heard all stories about people who suffer severe trauma and abuse, and they do split off into different personalities, and one emerges at one time when in the needed situation. And wow, that's really interesting. Just
And it takes an extraordinary amount of energy to manage all of that.
mm,
It really does. It takes an extraordinary amount of energy to go, okay, all of this is going on, and we're not going to do that anymore. So with that impetus and that spiritual decision and intention, going to Wayne Dyer, The Power of Intention,
mm.
then that's a great anchor for personal healing as well.
Wow, so you integrated and unified all those different personalities into Sinar.
Well, yes and no. So that is if I may dive into the PTSD experience for a moment. Okay. So what I like to do is anchor my experience with the three near-death experiences that I remembered experiencing. That's a lot of experiences in one sentence. Sorry. um, um, so this lovely friend who was trained by Ola to do energy work that became my co-partner in this healing journey. Her name was Radha. Her spirit name was Radha. Um, she said, I'd like to practice um, this healing art on you. And this was before I remembered anything. And so I was like, oh, sure. I didn't know how to say no. So I said, oh, okay. How long will it take? She said, oh, about 20 minutes. And she said, I'm just going to run my hands around your energy field. I'm not going to touch you. I'm not going to invade your space. I'm just going to feel for hot spots. And I said, okay. So laid back in the easy chair and she's, feeling my aura, my energy fields and she says, "Hmm." And I don't know about you, but when doctors and healers go,
Right.
it's not a good sign, or it's a great sign, depending on how you look at it. And I said, "What's the matter?" And she said, "Everything is hot.
Oh,
Every everything." And so I was like, "Okay." So we stopped and she said, "I'd like to try it again later." I said, "Sure, no problem. Let's find out what this is about." And, multiple hours and healing expressions later, um, my system started regurgitating my childhood experiences. And when you have PTSD, the experiences come up full blown, just full blown. Doesn't matter what age you were, what happened, your body reenacts it. And so suddenly I'm, flailing and throwing, and I'm being raped, and I'm being thrown up against a wall, and I'm being, horribly, horribly abused. And a part of me that was always outside the right side of my head, my spirit self, was not in my body. It was off to the side, kind of managing things like a puppet was going, wow, this is really weird. This is really strange. But what would happen is once my body would give up a memory, an experience, and I would get what I called an aha, where my childish mind would go, oh, that's why, yada, 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 like a pattern that had been running me for my entire life. Um, and once I got that aha, the memory would stop. And then we would energetically release all of we used to call them energy constrictions, the blockages, what you create when you hold on to those kinds of things that are just so terrifying you can't handle them. When you hold on to them, they create energy blocks in your physical systems, in your energetic systems. So then we would, angel teams, guardian angels, powerful spirits would come in and cleanse and heal, let release that specific memory from my physical field, and then I would take a little bit of time to when you have an intensive experience like that, you just need a little like whoa, let me just sit back and take a bath, take a walk, do some drawing, do some writing, breathe, rest and recuperate from that experience. But by going through each of these experiences, I became a little more conscious of my real self.
Mm.
So all of these things happened to Linda, which is where our story starts in the book. Um, and as I released all that Linda experienced, I became Sanar, my spirit self. And it was Ola who said, I wanted to change my name. I hated my parents. I hated my name. I was disowned by my family several times. I hated God. I hated me. I hated my life. But I had this child I needed to take care of. So, and I wouldn't let anybody else have him. So, I wanted a new name. And it was Ola who said, your name is Sanar.
Mm.
And I said, what does that mean? And Sanar means to heal in Spanish.
Mm.
And I was like, okay. And then I said, can you do that? Can you take your spirit name and be a physical person? Because I don't know about you, but I don't think we're trained to be our spirit selves. I think we are trained to be three-dimensional,
Mm.
I'm a spirit in a physical body, but that's not how I behave. Let's put it that way. So I said, I want to be Sanar. And I promised Linda I would tell her story. And so I legally changed my name to Sanar. Chose the name Alexander because a friend of mine said Alexander means helper of mankind. And so I, at that point, chose a mission to be a healer and a helper of mankind.
Well, and I do want to talk more about the healing you do now, but one last thing, and I don't know if you care to talk about this, but you did mention it. You had 3 near-death experiences. Was that all during the trauma when you were young?
Yes, yes. So, yes, and I'm happy to share that, absolutely, because I think those are the anchor points for the story. So the first thing I want to say is when I was going through the body memories and the post-traumatic stress was revealing to me all of these things, they did not reveal them linearly to me. They revealed me in a way that I could handle it.
Mhm.
So the first reveal was a college incident, the next reveal was something else. So the first let me think. The first, let me think. Which one did they reveal first? The first near-death experience was that they revealed to me was at the age of 9, where I was abducted by 2 men in a car and taken out into the woods. This all happened in Washington State, in the beautiful, beautiful nature of Washington State, um, and raped me vaginally, orally, terrorized me. I fought like a banshee, and lost my life at that point. Could not breathe, was being traumatized. forced out of the body, basically, just forced out of the body. And I remembered as a 9-year-old, my consciousness, myself leaving the body and starting to go down a dark tunnel. And the tunnel was really scary. It was cold. And I at this moment, these moments I recalled, I used to have dreams about wandering and being in dark houses and places hither and like just appearing somewhere and not knowing where I was. So this was not an unusual experience for me at the age of 9 to be, consciously going down a tunnel. I could see like newspaper. It looked like an alleyway, like a dark, cold alleyway is what it felt like to me. And I could see a light at the end of the tunnel. And I was afraid to go there. So I kind of went like halfway down the tunnel and it was like, "Ugh, I can't do that, So I turned around my consciousness. I came back and I hid in my third eye, in my forehead, and waited until the two men were done with the body of this little girl and had left me in the woods as dead because nobody was breathing in the physical body. And at that point, when they were sitting in the car having a cigarette, I chose to breathe back into the body and then immediately blocked all memory. They put me back in the car, took me near to my home, gave me a dime, and that was and that was it. I went to my room and just probably shock. I was probably in shock. I don't know. At the time, no, nobody was home. Both parents worked. So I just like sat in my bedroom and and I was numb. So that was the first near-death experience. And what I could see, the childish thought that I had regarding that experience was if I had short hair, they wouldn't have been able to control me. That I So that's what my 9-year-old was thinking. And so all through my, 20s and 30s, I had very short, very spiky, very, scary hair. And actually people would comment like, grow your hair out. And I'm like, no, I've got this spiky hair. Not knowing why, I didn't have any clue, but that's an easy analogy that from this 9-year-old experience, that was it. When I was, as an adult, perusing these memories and these experiences, I saw how difficult it was for me to follow through. Like it was hard for me to go to the light, like go down the tunnel, go through the darkness, go through the scary, cold, icky parts and go into the light. That was always an issue for me. So that was the first near-death experience that I remembered. The second near-death experience that do we need a breath or anything there?
No, we're
Are we
good.
okay? Are
Yeah,
we good? Okay. All right. It's a
incredible.
lot. I just want to make sure everybody's okay. Yeah. All right. And the cool part is I'm all right. I'm a little weird. I'm a little wonky, but hey, you can make it through these things.
Mhm.
So the second near-death experience that my system released to me was at the age of 16. And I have to admit that I don't either that I don't recall or I refuse to recall. Could be by that point I was just like so far gone that I was checked out. Like whatever happened to me, I it didn't even matter anymore. Like I had learned by that time that that's what my body was for. That's what it was for and whatever, just waiting it out. So it was a gang rape kind of thing. Again, choked to death. Left the body. It was out in the woods somewhere, the Pacific Northwest. And I was floating above the trees, just like in the movies, right? Just floating above the trees. And I was so excited to be done. Like, thank you for killing me, right? Thank you for putting me out of my misery. I'm out of here. Woohoo! And I'm floating up and I see two, what I termed angels, angelic beings, energetic beings, a pink one and a purple one. And I thought, tears, I'm home. I'm home. I'm done. I don't have to do this anymore. Oh, you know? And so I was headed for the angels, and they basically pointed back down to this was a back of a truck or something, pointed back down and said, "No, you have work to do. Go back." And I sat there and argued with them or floated there and argued with them. I didn't want to go back. I was like, no, these people suck. I don't want to go back there, blah, 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 And you don't argue. I mean, you can argue with angels, but it doesn't do any good whatsoever. They just pointed down, and then my body, my spirit got sucked back into my body, and I blocked all memory of that. And, lived for another 15, 20 years before I started to awaken. The pattern at that time that I could see ran my life for the next 15, 20 years was I can't live, I can't die. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I don't matter, right? What I want doesn't matter. Big time. So, that's a sucky way to live, for a long time. But once again, that memory occurred. I relived it. I re-experienced it. Oh, and here's the funny thing. Okay. There's a point when you're going through this and you're just like, I'm just gonna, I have no control over this. The memories just started regurgitating and regurgitating and regurgitating. And I remember it's like, oh gosh, I was getting tired of this process, and I was getting tired of all of this. And so I would tell myself, okay, well, I didn't die, right? You know, I didn't die. I'm still here. So this isn't going to kill me, right? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger or whatever. Um, so I would just touch something like metal, cold, tangible before I would let this memory up. And I would re-experience the memory, and then I re-experienced dying. I was like, oh man, this is my spirit's like, are you kidding me? Like, okay. And seriously, my body's laying on the floor. It's not bleeding, it's not breathing, it's not pumping, it's not doing anything. It's just inert. And my spirit is watching this going, well, I guess you did. So I'm like, okay. So then we completed the memory, did the energetic clearing, did the energetic ahas, and moved on with the experience. So that was the second near-death experience that my system revealed to me. And remembering that the memories just became more and more intense. They first started occurring as experiences that I could understand, that I could handle, that I could manage, like, okay, this makes sense, or this makes sense, or, this situation. Um, and and then and then there's one more, so
Wow.
as I became stronger, and as I became more willing, and as I became more Sanar having these experiences, as opposed to Linda going through these traumas, if that makes sense. I became stronger, more powerful. And, I'm going to say all of these A Course in Miracles, all of these new thought concepts of energy, and all of the angels, and all of the otherworldly opportunities that are available to us were greatly, I depended on them. Tangible life was not going well. you know, I was not working a lot. I was not, people were very worried about me, but I was just compelled. I had no choice in this matter, right? And remembering in the 16-year-old near-death experience, the angels were like, you have work to do. Like, this is yours. So I remember going to a healing. I lived, and all of these when the healing journey occurred in Phoenix, Arizona. I was living in Arizona at the time. So in that lovely desert, spending a lot of time in Sedona, in where the physical, earthly constructs were way supportive of this kind of journey. Let's put it that way. Like I didn't do it, in my parents' house. Went to Arizona, burned myself up, and came back to Washington State where I love it. So just knowing that I had all of this support that I had never really experienced before, other than just in nature. Okay. So are you ready for the final near-death experience?
This is amazing. Yes, we're ready.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And this is where I always say, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not stop and pitch a tent. Keep walking. That's just what I have to say. So we've had these near-death experiences. I'm starting to get in touch with how my mind split. As a child, I created a dragon to hold my anger because I was not allowed to be angry. Who would, you can only hold on to a dragon for so long before it just explodes. I created a black panther to hold on to, and I'm going to say now in precursor to this first and last near-death experience, that would hold on to my mouth, like keep your mouth shut. Like these are things you don't talk about. These are things you're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to deal with these. So it was part of the holding on. I created a robot, which was unfeeling, like you're not going to get me. Right. And all of these, and I created a silver cloud. And what that was, I discovered later, was I created experienced I don't know. When these horrible traumas were happening to me, I would make myself a cloud. I'm a cloud, I'm a cloud, I'm a cloud, I'm a cloud, I'm a cloud. I'm not feeling this. I'm not being this. I am not a physical body. I am not this little child. This is not, I would go into the silver cloud energy, which I later discovered is, I used to do a lot of ghost busting and energy clearings, which now comes into the quantum leaping kind of energetic experience. And that is a talent or a skill, you could call it, where I can go in and disassemble an energetic blockage and construct and dismiss it. Let's put it kindly that way, and dismiss an energy that is coagulating and creating issues in somebody's life. So I use that silver cloud analogy to just open it up and make it unreal. Let's put it that way, unreal. So a lot of these experiences that I had, that I created in the mind of a child, actually became tools as a dysfunctional adult. you know
All
Let's
right.
just put it that I was dysfunctional like crazy for a very long time. But as Sanar, then these animals and these characters are now just simple tools that I can utilize when necessary, if I need to, energetically. Okay, taking a deep breath, because this one is weird. This one is hard to handle for some reason. I think because it's the initial, I call it a gift, not because like, ooh, this was wonderful, but this was the initial gift of my journey. At the age of 2, I don't know what I was doing or who I probably being a 2-year-old. My father and my parents were extremely wounded. Let's put both of them extremely wounded. My father had major anger issues, and he picked me up and threw me up against a wall, and I popped out of the body. So hit the wall with the left side, and my spirit popped out the right side of my head and floated up to the ceiling, whereas the body melted onto the floor. It just was black and dark. So as a 2-year-old spirit, I'm floating up in the corner of my bedroom ceiling going, just confused, dazed and confused. And I'm looking down at this rag doll on the floor, and I'm looking down at my daddy going, what, daddy, what's, not understanding what that situation was. It was vastly confusing. And then my father kicked the rag doll, sucked me back into the body, and I blocked all memory of it. Um, as an adult, I could see, like, that was the first gift of, I'm not that body. I'm not that abuse. I'm an energy. I'm a spirit. I can come and go. I thought, until the angel sent me back, but it was just very clear that, this was me, and that was not me. So that body was Linda, and the spirit was like, I don't know what that was. So that was one of the last memories that my system gave to me, but it was also the first memory of the childhood experience. And that set me up for a life of crap, for lack of a better word. A huge healing journey, and then a joyous opportunity to share at this very powerful and important time of ascension, if that makes any sense to you. And we'll wrap that in a beautiful bubble of light. So the intention is that people are inspired and healed and gifted with their own true light.
Sanar, I want to say to you what you just laid out in pure vulnerability and so deeply personal. I honor you for sharing
Mm.
that. Thank you, thank you. I mean, that is such a deeply personal thing that most people would not even ever want to share. And I have a feeling what you just shared is going to shed light for so many people who watch and listen to this. And I think that's your mission and purpose. What you're doing now, all of that trauma and near-death experiences is meant to eventually bring light and love and truth to humanity. Thank you. I'm so honored
Oh,
to have you share that.
Oh, thank you so much for receiving it. I will admit, like, this is a story I didn't ever want to talk about, but it
Right.
was also a promise I made, and it was also a direction, a directed lifetime. I was in a healing experience up in Sedona in the midst of this. Like this is just what I did 24/7
Mhm.
until it was done, because that's who I am. Because that's who I am. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it all. I'm not gonna live. And therapists were saying, oh, this is going to take your entire life to heal. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, no, we're not doing this. I don't care what I have to do. But I was in this healing experience with this beautiful healer in Sedona, Arizona, which is where I felt comfortable letting go of a lot of these things. And she kept saying, you chose this. You chose this. She said, I see you before you come into this dimension with a checklist, like, oh, I can do this and this and this and this. I said, I don't care if I chose it or not. Just get it out. What get it out of me. We'll talk about choosing it or not choosing it later. So for me, the spiritual aspect of diving into the experience
Mhm.
was where I needed to start. And then the intellectual conceptualization, the Course in Miracles, the Ernest Holmes, the
Mhm.
New Thought, all of the wonderful, wonderful leaders that we have, Deepak Chopra, and just sharing with your listeners. I am 71. I'm going to be 72 in another month. So all of these things, yes, happened 30 years ago, but I am hopefully sharing this story as to bring people into their own true light. So thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate that.
Well, and just to remind the viewers and listeners, we are talking with the amazing Sanar Alixandyr. And now that she's just shared such deeply personal information of her life, where you are now, Sanar, I would like to find out you're known as an energetic healer. Tell us about this quantum field energetic transformation space. What exactly is that, and how is it accomplished?
Oh my goodness gracious. Yes, it is magnificent. All right. The terminology of quantum leaping and quantum energetic space is difficult to explain in three-dimensional thoughts and steps. I was inspired to take a course with Dr. Jean Houston. Do you remember her? She was amazing a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
And she's still amazing. She's in her 80s now, but her name just always inspired me. So I took this course and she gave us some wonderful techniques. And I'm having, it's difficult to explain. What it is um, an interesting use of time. It's an interesting use of purpose. It's an interesting use of interdimensional quantum mechanics. It's an interesting use of passion and presence. So, my post-traumatic stress, giving up of these memories one by one is the old school way of doing things. The quantum leaping manifestation is about suspending current reality, yes, and opening up to the field of possibilities when we start talking about fourth and fifth dimensional mechanics. Yes. Okay. Good job. Thank you so much for absorbing it. And what one can do is, all right, and I'm going to bring in the new earth concepts. You are familiar with that we are building a new infrastructure of earth energy and yes, awakened beings.
Mhm.
There we go. Good. And when we generate more and more of persons that can embrace and live in that dynamic energetic field, it begins to transform reality all around us. So there's your law of attraction. Yes?
Mhm.
There you
Yep.
go. Okay. So what I basically do myself in taking these talents and skills, and thank you for letting me, share this whole journey, because when we are inter and intra-dimensionally capable, meaning how all of these things work together, that it's sometimes difficult to explain to people so that they can embrace all of the new thought aspects that they are. There we go. Good. I'm feeling you're just groking it. It's just so wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So what I do, so that's just so what I do with all my experiences and talents and skills, like taking, silver clouds and turning them into a technique for ghost busting. I meet with a person who's ready to step into their true selves, who's ready to be who they really are, and create their own world from within to the without, then what I can do is set a healing quantum space, meaning we've suspended reality for a moment or an experience. And then we go and find your true self, wherever that true self happens to be at this juncture. And we bring that into your physical presence. Whether if you're a thinker, we might bring it into your mind. If you are a lover, we might bring that into your heart. If you're a runner, we might bring it into your full body experience. If you're a speaker, we might bring that into your throat. So wherever your talent lies, I spent many years as a vocal coach. Wherever it works for you, wherever your power space is, wherever life is working, that's where we bring your spirit self in. And because that's just like an open field. And from that point, you begin to expand into what we would call your auric field, your energy field, your quantum field. And you start to bring in what we would call then a new timeline. So rather than your third dimensional dysfunctional self going, I want this, you're bringing in your wise self and your energetic self and your pure self that's connected forever and ever and ever with whatever the source of all of this is. Then you have an eternal flow coming to you, through you, and you are receiving from within your best self, and you are expanding that, your best self, and then you begin to receive that back, yes, with the law of attraction. So when we talk about the divine feminine, it's not girl boy. It's not, it's like, oh, we are like way beyond girl boyness. Yes. It's about receiving. The divine feminine is about receiving. The divine masculine is about the physical constructs of your current experience. And so you receive from within, shine that out through your male designed constructs of creation, and then you begin to receive from without. And there is your infinite flow, where the energy doesn't come all the way in and all the way out. You are the apex of the figure eight, the infinite sign. You're doing so great. I'm just loving what your head is doing. It's awesome.
I'm a good student.
And a great teacher. Yes.
What you were just talking about is, when we talk about reaching our authentic self, I guess our authentic self, for me as a student of A Course in Miracles, that is that we are the son of all that is. And that's
Yes.
our authentic self, and we have fallen asleep in the dream of separation from our source, and that's why we are in these 3D bodies. And the goal of reaching our authentic self that's what enlightenment is going back home to source.
Yes, without having to die.
Yeah.
You don't have to die to live happily ever after.
Well, and a physical death. We at some point, as we mentioned earlier, humanity's on the cusp of a huge transformation. We may just dissolve into the fifth D and not experience a body dying and just become enlightened beings. And I have had so many guests on this show that say that is where humanity is right now.
Yes, I agree. And I will happily join that club. Yes. Yes. I know when people would talk about meditating, newbies, like younger people who are just learning some of these concepts. And I said, we don't meditate to check out. We
Mm-hmm.
meditate to check in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, the fact that, it's not like 3 minutes of rest. It's like bring that deep, wonderful, source of all lightness into this moment, and that transforms this moment, and you awaken. I remember the days going, awaken to what?
Yeah.
I'd rather be asleep. This life sucks. I'm I prefer to be asleep.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, we are awakening to the divine source, and it's happening in quantum fields now. We've thank goodness for science, joining the party and the game, and starting to see differently and cooperate together. Thank goodness for our LGBTQ marvelous human beings that are like, I'm just here to party. Let's do this, and just watching the transformations take place is such a blessing and such an honor.
Well, we're going to wind up here in a little bit. We are talking to Sanar Alexander. I do have one last big question here for you. Of course, America just went through a very chaotic, divisive presidential election, but on a global scale, the world is in a seemingly, from what the media shows us, is in a huge state of chaos on a cusp of complete breakdown. I wonder, can you or anybody use their talents as a healer to work on a larger scale to heal the chaos, to heal the hate that thrives in our world?
And that is such a huge question and such a beautiful request. And it's confusing to know what to do. So let me check in with Ola. Ola says, hi, you're awesome. All right, she likes you. That's awesome.
Hi,
Woohoo!
Ola, what's your phone number? I'm a bachelor.
OLA. Hola means hello in Spanish. Hola. Yeah, actually, if you would like, just call on her and boom. She's clear. She's clear. She's decisive. She's like, do this, do this, do this. This is about this. She's not a lot of fluff about Ola. She's not a grandma with, a soft lap. She's like, let's go.
I like.
She's the foot on the butt of my life. Yes, yes, love her. So global. Okay, 3 concepts she would like to communicate with you. And when spirit communicates with us and through us, they have to use what's in our head. She's not gonna, I'm not open to speaking in different languages that I don't understand. I'm kind of a control freak that way. If you're going to talk through me, I want to know what you're saying. So, number 1, there is always order underneath the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So the chaos is the result of the divine order. So I've done a lot of music in a lot of different churches. I got to deal with all my God issues in a multitude of ways. And I have decided that God is food, basically. Like, don't tell me I have to eat Mexican food every day. Don't tell me I can only eat Italian food. Don't tell me, I get to eat whatever food nourishes me, whatever my system, whatever enlightens me at each moment in time. Spiritually, God is divine essential food. And our job is to ingest that, receive it, and process it, take the good. And what do we do after we eat and we get all the nourishment from it? We eliminate that which is no longer working.
Mm-hmm.
So when you begin to think of 3-dimensional reality and all of the traumas we are experiencing, we get to choose what dimension we're going to awaken to. So there are people firmly rooted in the 3rd dimension. They're here to fight,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're here to talk. They're here to overcome. That's what their mission and their purpose is. Okay. Then we've got people in the fourth dimension. We've got our Buddhists and our monks and our people just holding the space, holding the space, just that divine being a channel of divine energy that goes through them without having to stop and have a conversation, right? The chanting, the meditation, that space. And then we have those who have dropped into the fifth dimension, who are busily creating the new dynamics of the future reality that we are awakening to. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So, and then there's of course way more than that, but we don't need to go there. I can't go there yet. So the choice is, where are you in the game? What's your puzzle piece? I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. I'm not here to teach anybody anything that they don't want to learn. I am here in support and love so that you can become the best you, whatever that means.
Well, and with that, we're going to wind up here. I would like to say, Sanar Alixandyr, what is your website? The best way for people to connect with you, and do you do workshops too?
I am in the process of creating a healing guide companion to go with the book. I'm getting some feedback that it's filled with a lot of stuff and people might need a little some moments for themselves to guide them. All right. Ola says there's a guide coming. Okay. Ola says there's a guide coming. And so thus the seminars and those sessions will occur in the next year.
Okay.
This was, as you said, this is my first entree into, this is my first book to be published. This is my first experience with this new zeitgeist. For me, it's an exploratory experience as to what is it that people want? What do people need? What can I share that is helpful? How can I be of service? I'm actually just showing up in service and learning, where I am needed. I spent many years as a professional musician, and I've had gigs that I've been paid to, like, no, we don't want you. Take the money and leave. So, you want to be the puzzle piece where in the correct puzzle, like, where do I belong? Who do I need to connect with? What is this about? So I'm looking forward to, yes, my website is my full name, which is spelled very strangely, SANARALIXANDYR.com. That's my website.
And I will put that link in the show notes
Thank you.
where everybody can check that out. Also, I'll put a link to your book in there, so if people want to get a copy, they can do that. But again, wow, you are amazing, Sanar. Thank you for being on World Awakenings. It took a little effort on our part to get this together, but it worked out. All things in the right time and the right way. Yes.
Isn't that so? When things are not working, if okay, I'm sharing. Ola says, when things are not working, I go into a meditation and I just start sending energy for that which is best. So I'm so grateful to be connected with you one-on-one. You are inspiring. You are a great mouthpiece. If there's anything I can do for you, I'm excited that you are utilizing your history and your talents and skills in sharing. It's just making a big difference in the world. It is. Your angels are like, whoop, 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 whoop.
All right. Thank you, Sanar.
Mwah, you're the best. Thank you, Carl.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with host Carl Gruber, a certified law of attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in to each and every episode of World Awakenings as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to the truth of all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how much they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment daily life. Much love and light to you, my friend, and thank you for tuning into World Awakenings.